from brambleberry.com. Today, I'm going to show you how to make solid shampoo bars. What's a solid shampoo bar, you ask? Well, basically, it's shampoo that is solid form, and the reason you'd use it is, well, quite frankly, it's because it's more eco-friendly. Regular shampoos have a lot of water in them, which means they have to be in a plastic bottle in order to get from the factory to the store to your house and then onto your hair. This is just all the foaming and cleansing ingredients without the water, so no plastic bottles. So what goes into making a solid shampoo bar? Well, solid shampoo bars are usually some mixture of surfactants. A surfactant is a very fancy word that means foaming and cleansing ingredient. And so surfactants can be everything from pretty harsh ingredients that go into things that like scrub tables, all the way to very gentle surfactants and foaming agents that go into baby products. There's lots of different recipes out there, and it's totally your preference on which one you want to use to get the results that you want for your hair or your customer's hair. So while the main ingredient is surfactants or a few surfactants, you can also put in other ingredients like extracts or butters or binders or emulsifiers in order to really personalize your recipe for your solid shampoo bar. If you want to learn more about the science or see a lot more recipes, there's two other makers that I just want to give a shout out to: Marie from Humble Bee and Me, and Susan from Swifty Crafty Monkey. I'm going to put their links down below so you can go check out their sites and explore more about the science behind solid shampoo bars and, of course, see other types of recipes. So let's get started crafting. The base of this product is indeed the surfactant, SCI, or sodium cocoyl isothianate needles. At Brambleberry, we call it foaming booster, and these are little, basically tiny bits of the SCI that are pressed together to make a noodle. Now you can buy this as a powder, but we find that the powder just goes up into the air and it's not really fun to work with. So that's why at Brambleberry we're actually carrying the needles or the noodles. So this surfactant is derived from coconut oil. It's considered a very gentle surfactant, and it really does foam and lather and cleanse beautifully. The next surfactant we're going to use is cocamidopropyl betaine, also known as Bubble Boost at Brambleberry. And that's why it's there. It is truly a foam and bubble booster. It's also another very gentle surfactant that's fantastic for helping to wet down our foaming noodles and make sure that everything sticks together. We're also going to add some other hair-loving ingredients to this bar. We're going to add BTMS 50, which is an emulsifier that also helps to bind everything together and provide conditioning for the hair. Some DL-panthenol, which is a really fancy way to say B vitamins or B5 vitamin, and some aloe, water-soluble aloe, which of course is fantastic for helping to moisturize skin as well as the hair shaft. Now, even though this product is solid and there's no water in it that hasn't already been preserved because our water-soluble aloe is already preserved, this is going to sit out in your shower with a lot of moisture and a lot of stuff that can grow on it because, well, wet things can grow things. So we are going to use a preservative in this. And the safe preservative we're going to be using is GeoGuard 221. And this is optional, but I really think it's a great idea, especially if you're planning on selling these products in any way, shape, or form. So we'll be making today's solid shampoo bars in this double boiler setup. This is just a large pot with a little bit of water in the bottom. I'm going to put this heat-safe container in the top, and that will really gently melt these ingredients down. Less melt, more kind of glop them down over time. The process takes at least 30 minutes, so make sure you have enough time for this entire thing to start to finish. So to get started, I'm just going to add my foaming noodles and my bubble boost directly into this double boiler. And the full measurements will be in the recipe below. So some people do wear a mask for this portion or a respirator. If you are working with powder SCI, 100% you want a mask or a respirator. I really like working with the noodles because then I don't have to put it on if I don't want to. All of the foaming noodles right here into my double boiler. Whee! And now I'm just going to measure out my bubble boost. And this bubble boost, like I mentioned, is going to act as a secondary surfactant. So it's going to add to the foam and the lather, but it's also really going to help bind our ingredients together. So now I'm just going to cover. I'm going to walk away for about 10 minutes. Really, this process takes like 30 minutes, so get your patience hat on. So while we're waiting for that mixture to go ahead and melt and glop together, let's go ahead and measure out our other ingredients. So for this container, I'm going to be measuring out our anhydrous ingredients. Anhydrous is a really fancy word that means doesn't have water. So the things like the cocoa butter and the BTMS 50 and the fragrance oil will go into here. This is my cocoa butter. I love working with these pastilles. Makes it so easy to measure everything out. Done. That's all the cocoa butter we need. This is the BTMS 50. And the BTMS 50 smells like dead rotting fish if you accidentally burn it. So really, when I say to microwave this in 30 to 60-second bursts, go on the 30-second side, because boy, it smells so bad if you've accidentally overheated it. This is almost melted, and now I'm going to add my fragrance oil, and I'm using the White Lily and Aloe from Brambleberry, which of course smells like white floral, has some lily notes. It's really herbaceous and fresh. It's exactly what you think a shampoo bar that looks like this smells like. The reason I didn't microwave this is because I didn't want to damage the fragrance oil. It probably wouldn't have damaged it, but you never know how hot the product gets in the microwave or if it's heating evenly. So that's why I'm adding it to the end now that my BTMS 50 and my cocoa butter are fully melted. So now that these are melted and mixed, I'm going to go ahead and just set it aside, and then I'm going to work on my water-soluble ingredients. So now I'm going to start with my water-soluble aloe extract, and remember this has already been preserved, and there we go. And next is my sodium lactate. Now sodium lactate is commonly used in cold process soap making for hardening. So what does it do here? It helps to bind the ingredients together. It acts as a humectant, meaning it draws moisture to the hair shaft. And interestingly enough, it also acts as a hardening agent in our solid shampoo bars. Now the DL-panthenol is water soluble, and so I'm just going to take a little bit, spoon, and just going to add a little bit of it into here and then mix it up. And so that way, and it doesn't quite mix up so much as it almost kind of suspends, but you can work out any clumps with this little bit. And then we're just going to set this to the side and check in and see how our surfactants are doing in their kind of melting, glopping process. All right, we have waited just about 30 minutes. I have given this a little kind of, I don't know, little stirring a few times to make sure. You can see we have a pretty nice paste. It's a gloppy paste. The consistency is definitely that of what you'd expect if you were making, say, hot process soap. And now we're going to add our water-soluble ingredients and our oil-soluble ingredients. So first I'm going to add the BTMS 50 and the fragrance oil. I'm going to just stir that in. And then I'm going to add, and my double boiler is still on, by the way. I don't want this to get, I don't want it to get too thick too fast. And when it cools, it does thicken pretty quickly. Now I'm going to add my water-soluble ingredients. I have not added my preservative yet because the preservative is something that we want to keep below, I think, about 162 degrees. So I've got all the ingredients mixed in now except for my GeoGuard, and I am going to add 1 drop of the Jade Liquid Crystal Dye from Brambleberry and see what I get. These are so powerful. If you end up with an extra drop or 2, you can really end up with a very dark green product. If you use a lot, you could end up maybe dyeing someone's very blonde hair or making messes in a shower. So you want these to be a nice pastel color, not too much of a actual bright color. So I am looking at this and I've decided I actually think I want 1 more drop of green, but remember, you can put it in, you can't take it out. So I am just fine with the fact that I started with 1 drop and not 2. 1 more. And then I'll pull this off of the heat and I'll make sure that this cools down to about 160 or below, and then I'll add my preservative. And remember, again, the preservative is not totally necessary. I am just adding it for an extra measure of safety given how people store their shampoo bars. Speaking of which, storing the shampoo bar in the shower, you want to keep it just like handmade soap, nice and dry. So be thinking like wire rack or soap dish so it drains and the shampoo bar doesn't get wet and sit in a little puddle of soapy water in the shower. Okay, this is a nicer green. I like that a lot. Now I'm just going to plop this off and let it cool down just a little bit, and then I can add my preservative. So I'm going to just check this temperature. I'm at 138, cooling off quickly. So I'm just going to do 2 milliliters of my GeoGuard 221, put that in and mix it up really well. And then I have to work quickly to do the glop. And so this does set up pretty quickly. This good mashed potatoes consistency. And just going to mix my preservative in really fully. smells really good. Loving the smell. The heat is really making the fragrance waft, and it is nice. Okay, beautiful consistency. I'm going to take my mold, and I am just going to glop this into the mold. I might want a spoon, but we'll see. And I have gloves here because one of the things I can do at the very end here is just press down, but this is so warm, you definitely want gloves on to press down and make sure that everything is even. Okay, so I'm just going to fill these up, and then I'm going to really tamp down and start pressing down so that way we get all the details of our beautiful succulent mold. So have that fully in. I'm going to tamp down, and then gloved hands, because this is warm, just really press down, press in, and then all you need to do is let this sit and harden. You can do it, it hardens in about 4 to 6 hours, and then the product is ready to use right away. But we have noticed that when you let it sit out, just like regular cold process soap, it will harden after a couple days with exposure to air, so keep that in mind. So these are the solid shampoo bars I made yesterday, and I think we can acknowledge I may have overdone it on the colorant. That's okay. These pop out. Ooh, that popped out really easy. It just fell right out. Woohoo! Loving that, and I am actually really liking this color, so I'm curious if it's going to lather green or not. If it lathers green, not so good for anybody. So these are all done. I'm just going to let them sit aside for a couple days so they harden up, and then they're ready to use or give away or sell right away. And one last thing before I go, you might be wondering, how do I use this? Easy. It's kind of personal preference. You can either lather up in your hands and then use that to scrub your hair, or I actually just literally got this wet, got my hair wet, and then just scrubbed away until the lather and the foam showed up, and then I washed my hair like normal. And I will say, this left my hair feeling so conditioned and so silky soft and so smooth. It was a fantastic formulation for my hair. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. If you make this product, or, well, any of the products that we've taught you how to make on this channel, please hashtag it BrambleOn on social so we can see what you're creating, because you inspire me and you inspire all the makers out there. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. Then you get notified each and every time we come out with a brand new video. Until next time, happy soaping! I love my life. My life is fun. I can't believe this is old job. Okay. Patience hat on.